Well, welcome everybody to another OSHA Quick Take with Conn Carey. We're going to be talking about the intersection between artificial intelligence and employment and OSHA law. I think this is going to be a big webinar. I imagine there's going to be a ton of questions. So Conn Carey is hosting the webinar on November 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern or 10 a.m. Pacific time. We'll have a link below in the description to click over to their site and sign up. And the webinar, like I said, is the intersection between artificial intelligence, employment, and OSHA law. And I think some of the takeaways are going to be protecting that confidential and trade secret information, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's artificial intelligence and algorithmic fairness initiative sounds fascinating, and the state of local law regulations or regulating the use of AI and best practices on the use of AI in the workplace. So definitely want to sign up for this one, and we're going to turn it over to Darius to kick things off today.
Thanks. So yeah, really interesting topic. We'll start off with on a basic level, probably the most like one of the most important things to really understand when talking about AI and the law is what exactly counts as AI. Yeah, I think the last couple of years you got like generative AI, like your ChatGPT like models that has taken a lot of the attention. But AI, has kind of been around and been considered for a long period of time. I think on a basic level, it was this sort of branch of computer science that's supposed to be, dealing with the simulation of intelligent behavior in computers. And so there are these subsets, right? You've got generative AI, most recently, machine learning, deep learning, and just on a basic level, automation can sometimes be included in that. So part of what we'll be talking about in the webinar is sort of what counts as AI, and as a result, kind of what kind of regulatory frameworks are going to apply on, to areas you might not expect.
Yeah, so the next topic will be sort of the regulatory framework, the current status of how different jurisdictions are dealing with and handling the developments in artificial intelligence. So we'll look at the EEOC for the employment context. We'll touch a little bit on OSHA and how they are currently looking at the use of AI in their agency. And then we'll cover general state laws covering AI that will always be sort of in the background of any employer's use of the technology. And then the feds have issued guidance letters and executive orders on the topic. And so we'll kind of cover those and see how those would impact an employer's use as well.
Yeah, and then we will turn to just some common uses of AI that we are seeing in the workplace. So for example, the use of AI as a recruitment tool to screen and assess candidates, and potentially identify who may be the best candidate just based on previous applications and previous candidates who have been successful in the role, and also looking at specifically in that context some of the EEO work around this use of AI in recruitment as it relates to the AI itself having its own kind of implicit bias or otherwise executing its own bias in the selection of candidates who are moved to the next level. We'll also take a look at using AI to draft written materials from job descriptions all the way down to safety protocols, how to properly operate a machine, how to properly lock out a machine, and what the potential implications for that can be for an employer, whether they're using, a large language model or a closed loop type system. And then just other common uses such as managing employee performance and using AI to manage employee compensation.
And then we're also going to look at AI from the OSHA perspective. And, we've been seeing employers use AI in a lot of different interesting ways, from autonomous machinery, like Darius mentioned, to perform kind of the more dangerous or repetitive tasks, to, using AI coupled with cameras to surveillance, to surveil work sites and identify like safety violations, or identify like employees not wearing the proper PPE. And then also using environmental sensors or biosensors to measure things like exposure level. And I think the point here is that, AI can be very beneficial to work sites in complying with health and safety regulations. But as with any new technology, whenever new technology is introduced to a work site, it needs to be properly assessed to determine the potential issues. I think the major ones with AI are going to be the disparate impact, privacy concerns, and then the OSHA concerns, which we're definitely going to cover. And when it comes to OSHA concerns, for example, if you're collecting all this, environmental exposure levels, personal exposure levels, what are you doing with that information? Are those, do you need to keep those as like medical record or exposure records under the OSHA Record Keeping Act? Another thing to always consider is, how accurate is the AI? We've seen that like AI facial analysis can misidentify people at a higher rate if they're darker skin tone. And so if you're using AI facial analysis to for disciplinary purposes, what is the impact there, right? And what are the proper procedures that you should put in place to make sure that there is no disparate impact on any certain, group of people? So those are the topics. I think it's gonna be a really interesting webinar, because AI in the workplace has such a broad scope and has so many implications in employment law and OSHA.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for joining me with the quick take today. And I know from our perspective, there's just more and more kind of AI-based products or solutions popping up in the health and safety industry. I imagine the regulations are still trying to catch up in a lot of cases, to where the technology's at. So I think super important webinar for everybody to tune into. Again, that's Wednesday, November 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern or 10 a.m. Pacific time. And again, the link will be in the description below. And definitely thank you again, everyone from Conn Maciel Carey for joining us for an OSHA Quick Take.
Thanks,
Thanks for having us.